Hey everybody, Adam Savage in my cave with Marlen. How are you, Marlen?
Hi.
You have come here representing a esoteric craft, a set of esoteric crafts that I'm dying to do a dive into. Do you want to show me what you do?
Yeah, so this is a collection of tools that I use to do traditional hand engraving.
And engraving like watches, rings, important keepsakes?
Engraving is a very primitive thing. It's one of the oldest crafts that I think humans have on record. It's taking a stick and carving rock with stick. What I do is traditional hand engraving, which means that I'm using simple tools without any electric assist or any kind of technology. It's a sharpened piece of steel on a wood handle, and I hold it with my hand and I push it through metal.
So when I'm looking at like a piece of 16th century armor at the Metropolitan Museum of Art and I'm seeing engraving on there, you're basically using the same tools they were.
Yeah, so the armor in the Renaissance era, 500 years ago, that was the first time that the recent, like what we still use today, engravers, were officially documented as being used to engrave armor.
Oh, they were actually that was the first time we were keeping records about it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So engravers, the history of it is a little bit muddled as far as exactly when it was invented, but the tool really hasn't changed that much in 500 years.
It's a certain kind of triangle at a certain kind of hardness.
Yeah, exactly. A traditional hand engraver, which means that, again, I don't use any electric assist or pneumatic tools to engrave, which is kind of what hand engraving has turned into today. Right. If you look up hand engraving, it's mostly pneumatic.
Right.
I'm currently, and have been for the last 10 years, the only traditional hand engraver left in San Francisco.
What? No, did you find a mentor, someone to pass on to you their years of knowledge?
I did, yeah. Part of learning a really old craft like this thoroughly is getting a traditional apprenticeship with a master. And I was lucky enough to actually be lined up to meet the last hand engraver in San Francisco before I became the last engraver. So yeah, I went to a trade school downtown San Francisco in 2013. It's called Revere Academy. And I walked in there at first and they had all these shadow boxes on the walls with all the different things that they were going to teach in the school, and one of them was engraving. And I remember immediately being drawn to that because it's like drawing, but on metal.
Right.
So I have a really long history of doing all kinds of art and crafts and kind of everything. And if you know how to draw any art medium, you can just pick up because you already have the dexterity, right? So engraving was immediately the thing that...
It dovetailed with a part of your brain that already existed.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just kind of picking.
Okay, but I, just to dial in here, it's also like, I would imagine maybe the slowest possible form of drawing.
Yes.
So, and I'm assuming that when modern engraving people are using pneumatics and other things to assist them, it's about being able to generate things faster. But you really prize the hand physical process.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So I went to the school, and about halfway through the program, we did 2 days of engraving, and it was taught sort of correctly, but I really...
You now know what you didn't know.
Yeah, I got immediately hooked, and one of my teachers dared me to engrave a tiger on a pendant, and then the school was like, hey, we have this guy, his name is Harach, and he works right down the street, and he's looking for somebody to train before he retires, and you should go meet him. So I walked down there with my little tiger pendant that I engraved in school, and I knocked on his door, and I said, hi, they sent me from Revere, can I hang out? And I hung out with him all day, and he just showed me everything that was in his studio, and his friends were there. And it basically was an immediate hit, and he said, what are you doing tomorrow?
Unbelievable.
And I said, I'm hanging out with you.
I love that you brought him a piece, because I'm sure you know now, like, when I see something someone made and it's within my skill set, I understand so much about them. So you brought that tiger pin not knowing what you represented, but he understood.
I didn't know what I was walking into.
That's incredible.
And like when I went to the school, I was anticipating kind of just becoming a goldsmith. Right. And I just found out about the school and I was 20 years old and was like, oh, I guess I'll be a jeweler. That seems like a good medium to get into out of all of the arts, because just the price point for materials made sense.
Yeah.
And again, time.
Right.
Yeah, and so I trained with Hratch side by side in his studio for 2.5 years. And he taught me everything that he could fit in within those 2 years before he retired, and then moved to Hawaii.
Oh!
And left me in his studio with all of his clients and this big legacy. And so that's where I've been ever since.
What a gift and a burden. Both. That's really inspiring. He's available for phone calls, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He moved back to Hawaii now, and so he's not in the Bay anymore, but he's local enough that I can go see him.
Yeah. Well, so walk me through some of the tools of your trade.
Yeah, so this is an engraving block. This is what we use to hold the thing that we're engraving. So it's I think this is maybe a 15-pound
Oh, that's spectacular.
solid block of steel.
I love it.
And
it turns easily, so you can keep approaching your work from different angles.
Yeah, so it's got a ball bearing in the middle, and then vice straws on top, and it's got a little old school leather base that it sits in.
I love this.
Yeah, so, engraving the thing is one part of it, but holding whatever you're engraving is a whole other element. So within hand engraving, it is called traditional hand engraving, but you also see it be called hand push engraving. And the reason is because the gravers that I use, you technically hold it with your hand and you push the graver, but
Oh, you're not using a little hammer.
No.
You're just pushing with
I'm pushing it. But the thing is that the graver itself, it pushes a little bit, but it's actually the block that pushes the metal into the tool.
Oh.
So that's why the block rotates.
So you're using its own weighted momentum to help you have leverage on the line you're carving.
Exactly.
I didn't consider
Because
that.
everything is coming from your arm. There's no turning. So like this all has to be locked and strong and stable. And this is why we need to be sitting at exactly the right height.
It's so funny. Whenever I am taking in a new skill or something and I'm like, some part of me is tense, I remind myself that anyone who is a master of this craft, and I haven't met any of them, but probably sits in a relaxed fashion. So I try and find each time that kind of position that allows my body to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, posture is usually it's like 90% of the issues that people have when they're learning is like just, okay, sit down an inch lower, get your elbow out a little bit, or stop leaning on your elbow in this way. And so I was saying to my friend, engraving is, I think, one of the most technical things while also being one of the least technological things that we could do.
Sure.
Well,
so walk me through the process.
All right, so these are the tools that we use. So these are gravers.
Gotcha.
And
look at them all in cork.
And we are engravers.
I see. I am the tool holder. This is the tool.
Exactly. So these are some of the tools that I use regularly. So I put them in corks for travel. But this is what it is. So I use high-speed steel gravers and wood handles. So within the engraving world, there are different types of gravers that are used. They're just different shapes. Kind of like different paintbrushes have different uses. So if you were trying to make a really wide fan cut or a brush stroke, you would use a wide paintbrush. And then if you were trying to make a very fine hairline, you would use a brush that was a very thin, shape.
So then the ends of each of these tools is like the end of a brush, giving you a different shape.
Exactly. So we have, this is called an anglette graver, which has these nice curved edges.
Beauty.
And then this would be a flat graver, where the belly of it, which is the bottom side, is this flat rectangular shape.
Oh, yeah.
And to show you on a bigger scale, we brought the big gravers.
What? What?
These are aluminum. My friend David Thorpe made these a long time ago for Hratch to teach classes with.
Wow. So this is just helping people understand the geometry
So
that they can't see.
Exactly. So this is called an anglette graver, which has the nice curved sides on it. This is a flat, which is the nice rectangular.
Makes a nice flat bottom.
Yeah, and then this is a square graver, because if you look at it from the backside, it is a square. So we cut on the corner of it.
And it presents that diamond to the...
Yeah, so there's two main categories of gravers. There's single point gravers, which would just have one single point touching,
Right.
and then a 2-point graver, which I have 2 points. So you can either put it down on the right side or the left side to cut. So this would be the graver that you would use to make really wide, broad cuts, because you can use the entire width. So if you have a flat graver that is really thin, you can only make cuts as wide as the graver.
Right, of course.
And then if you have a big bulldozer flat graver, you can get a really wide cut.
For taking a whole area down if you needed to.
Yeah, so with engraving, there's all different styles. So what I do is mostly surface level engraving, but there's also relief engraving, which would actually be digging down metal to make it more of a three-dimensional height. So
Gotcha.
think like relief engraving, like dies, like for die striking, or coins, like mint,
Right,
where
right.
it's three-dimensional, or family crest rings, where you would stamp it in wax.
Oh, yes.
So that's relief engraving. The thing that a lot of people get mixed up in, they think that engraving is going to be really deep,
Right.
but it's not. The cuts are just wider. So when it comes to actually using tools like this, you're not gouging out a giant piece of metal with every stroke. It's just you're shaving off just a little bit.
A few thousandths.
Yeah. So with engraving on soft metals like gold, silver, and platinum, or copper like we're going to do, it doesn't take that much.
Right. I actually annealed copper and was using it recently. I was amazed at how soft annealed copper is. It is like leather.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a minute, and
it's
then it
almost a
worked
little
hard.
sticky almost. It kind of gets stuck to the graver
Oh, it's
sometimes.
grippy. It has a fascinating.
Yeah.
So do you? I was reading recently that jewelers have their carpets cleaned by special services that pull out all the gold that they have, the dust that they have created over the last 18 months since their last cleaning. Do you have to do
Yeah.
that?
Well, so yeah, with any craft, all of the scrap material is of course precious metal, and you have to collect it all. And then you send it into a refinery. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, some people have carpet and they'll just cut up the carpet, roll it, and send the whole thing to the refinery. I have a chair mat underneath my chair at work so that I'm not rolling my chair and embedding gold
Right.
into my tiles.
Okay. So can we see some of the products of these beautiful little?
Yeah, so I brought a sample box, and then I brought some actual jobs
Awesome.
from work. So these are some samples of engraving that I have done. These are all kind of patterns that are either really classic traditional patterns like the weed and some scrolls, and then also some patterns that I came up with and just wanted to do. I describe my job kind of like being a tattoo artist.
Right.
So I don't really get to pick what I engrave.
Right.
So if you go to a jewelry store and you pick out a ring, and you think, oh, I have this idea, I want leaves engraved on the ring, or like
Yeah.
a squirrel on my shoulder. Like, you would tell the tattoo artist what you want, and then they would design it and then tattoo it. So engraving is exactly the same, except this is going to last a lot longer than a tattoo.
And you have, I would assume a client comes to you, you're also allowing them to see what your expertise is and where you have explored.
Yeah.
So that they can say, hey, give me some ideas about where I could go with this.
Yeah, it's a level of trust that was inherited by training with someone like Harach, who had social capital and mastery.
Right.
And when I was training all of his clients, it'd be like a rotating door of everybody in the San Francisco jewelry industry that all knew him. And so they all met me and saw my progress and my skill and everything pick up. So and it's been 10 years since Harach moved away and retired. And so I've created my own portfolio through just filming and posting videos and photos online. And now I have a sample box.
So I just love this. And I see some things like these where there's letters
Yeah,
etched
check
that
'em
looks
out.
very much like what I think of as engraving.
And I don't use a microscope for any of this. I'm just using my optivisor and some reading glasses, and I just get up in there.
Oh my God, young eyes.
And that's one of the reasons Harach retired, is because he had trouble seeing the letters inside of rings.
This is so beautiful.
I did that during my apprenticeship, actually.
Wow. Does this begin with using a compass to kind of divide up your circles so that you
Yeah.
have some reference?
Yeah, so all engraving is a 3-step process of drawing the thing that you have in your head or using a reference photo. So, if I was engraving this little catfish,
Right.
I would put the piece of metal in my block and then set it and then take pens and draw on the metal.
Gotcha.
And then take a scribe and gently scribe on, which is basically scratching a line where the ink is. And then I would wipe the ink away. And then I would take the graver and basically start engraving, and the block is turning underneath me, which is very disorienting. So the process of drawing, scribing, and engraving is an editing process of getting ink and then very deliberate scribe lines. Because once you get a graver to it and it's flipping upside down, imagine if you were doing lettering and you're engraving a word upside down.
Right.
And not making a spelling mistake and having all the lines exactly lined up.
Well, okay. So, and that's one of the questions I have is I'm looking at these curves. When you're engraving someone's precious family heirloom, the stakes seem impossibly high.
Yeah, the thing with engraving is that once you make a cut, it's on there.
Right.
And you can't go back and really erase it. There's ways to kind of smudge the metal and burnish it or file the whole thing down if you really mess up. But you have to kind of learn to work with your mistakes as you make them.
Oh my gosh.
More tools. All right, so dividers.
Okay, yep.
These are vintage.
Those are your dividers.
Yeah, these are patented in 1885.
Oh.
Patented. I got these on eBay.
Yeah. Oh, they are loved too.
Yeah. I actually had to file the tips of them to get them to be even more precise.
I would imagine.
Because what I really use these for is putting lines. So if you look really closely, there's borders right on the edge.
I know, I see that.
So engraving, I describe engraving kind of like ice skating on tiptoe. As far as it's really easy to slip, but it's a balancing act. And, moving a graver through metal is all about the angle that you hold the tool at to push it. It's not a matter of shoving the graver into the metal to keep it there. So doing patterns like this, every one needs a very thin border to frame the pattern because some cuts need to rest in that little groove. So I use dividers to make little lines. So you can take them and make the dividers very, very thin.
And make a little, what?
You see how I turned the ring?
I did. You moved the piece, not the tool.
I think I've stabbed myself more on these than gravers. Because it's really easy to just kind of slip.
Yeah.
But again, you can't rush. You can't get distracted and impatient. You have to take your time. And I think that is really something that people struggle with when they are learning something so complex, is that this is not something that you can learn in a month. This takes years of regular practice and spite to get good at this.
How are these little, so basically it looks like you've ended up with a sort of a repeating ridge all the way around the corners of this.
That is something different. That's called a mill grain, and I brought a little mill grain tool. So think of this as kind of like a little pizza cutter wheel, except right at the very tip, there's a little tiny wheel.
A little tiny wheel?
On a rivet, and inside the wheel are little concave little divots, which create little bumps. So when you roll this tool right along the edge of metal, it creates these little bumps. And they come in different sizes.
This is a wheel that is smaller than lint I've pried out of the jack of my phone.
Oh no, here's a really small one. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
So they all have numbers on them. These are made in France. Yeah, I know. And they're really fragile, and I actually have to file right along the edge, which damages the rivet. So I go through these quite often.
Wow. And you're sitting there rolling these along the edge to create that texture.
Yeah. Yeah, mill grain's pretty easy.
Pretty easy. Do you have sometimes, after you've spent hours and hours and hours on the incredibly tiny, have trouble coming back to the full-size world?
Yeah. No, when I was in school, I learned from one of my teachers. Her name was Nancy. Maybe it was Roberta. She told me to practice and to constantly flex the muscles in my eyes. So the school that I went to was up on the 9th floor in the Humboldt Bank building, which is right on 4th and Market.
Yeah.
So we were really up in the buildings up there, and she told me, like, whenever you feel that, stop what you're doing, look up and look out a window and look as far as you can, and you can feel the muscles in your eyes stretching. And
so you're literally like lifting weights for your ability to focus tightly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm conditioned to this, but if you're not used to looking at things on a very small scale, and also like having magnification, I don't know, I'm used to it, but it did take some getting used to. And I hear a lot of gemologists that are constantly looking through microscopes because their vision is always getting blurred and focused again.
Right.
It kind of helps your eyes stay not fatigued.
Now you were saying that that engraving is more scratching rather than creating these huge deep divots, but this ring seems to belie that just a little bit. These look incredibly deep. These.
That ring has a story. Yeah, so that is technically relief engraving. So
Gotcha.
The story with that ring is that there was this guy who found me on Instagram, and he sent me an email asking to engrave this ring. He was an antique dealer. He wasn't a jeweler. And he sent me a photo of another engraver's work, which was just like this. I don't like copying anybody's work, but there's nothing really original about lettering, so.
Right.
So he sent me this ring, and he said, I want it really deep. I want it gouged out in relief with these numerals. And so I did the job, did it. I did this in, I think, 2016, so 10 years ago. And I sent it off with my invoice. I can't remember how much I charged for it, but probably not enough.
Yeah.
And then a month later, I get it back in the mail with a 2-page handwritten note with him ranting about how much gold I took out because he weighed it, and because of the amount of gold that was now removed from the metal or the ring, he didn't want to pay for the engraving, so he just sent me the ring, which I don't think he got the better deal.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
He
wasn't a jeweler. Like it's fine. He didn't.
Clients are clients.
That's right.
It sounds like you. It sounds very clearly to me like you love what you do.
I do.
And that you don't just love the craft of it, but you love what you're imparting to the object for the final wearer.
Yeah, it kind of brings it to life, I think. Like with machining and all the tech that could possibly hold the graver for you and push it, it's like having it done by hand and saying that it's hand engraved means that it has to look like it's done by hands. It's got some wabi-sabi.
Right. A little bit of No, that's why I can't abide CNC lettering.
Yeah.
Lasers, computer controlled milling. It all looks too neat to me, and the world isn't that clean.
Yeah. I think I wanted to tell you about the coolest job that I have done.
Yeah, please.
Which was the indexable clutch for the Wintergarten marble machine.
You worked on that?
Yeah.
I love the Wintergarten marble machine.
Yeah.
I've watched all of his videos.
Okay, the brass clutch that is like the gear shift for the time signature of the entire instrument. Will from Machine Thinking, his YouTube channel, he reached out to me a long time ago, and I just rewatched this YouTube video yesterday of him making it, and he had these little punches with numbers on it because he had to add numbers around the whole piece.
Right.
And there's a scene where he like taps the punches on there, and he goes, "Oh shit!" And then the next scene is like, "Oh," and at this point, I decided to reach out to an engraver, Marlen Hazel, and then that project was actually the first piece that I filmed, and that kind of started me filming what I was doing. I engraved numbers all the way around the outside of it. And you look at this piece and it has some life and some breath because I injected life and energy into this thing, and now it's part of this amazing, incredible instrument.
Cool. And that whole machine is such a triumph over itself, right? It's just such a magnificent, marvelous, weird, strange beast.
Yeah.
I've watched several of those videos more than once just to glory in its complexity.
Yeah, sometimes I get some weird requests as far as like what I'm actually engraving, but as long as the material is a soft metal, so as long as it's not steel, I can do it. So, I knew all about the previous marble machine, so when I got that message, I was so stoked.
I really appreciate you taking me on a trip to this. I love the hand-hewn aspect of it. We have plenty for a video here, but I'm wondering if we shoot another video, would you show me how this actually, show me how to do some of this?
Yeah, let's put a graver in your hands.
I just want to, just one line. That's all I want. That's probably all I can get.
I brought some copper and plenty of gravers. So yeah, let's have you try it.
Thank you so much. It's a really, really thrilling and beautiful craft, Marlen.
Thank you.
Also, sorry, we will include the link in the description to Marlen's wonderful YouTube channel. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.
You're still here? Great. I want to tell you about some of the stuff we've got for sale at adamsavage.com, including a new gear bag. I know it looks like two gear bags, but these are two versions of the same bag. And this is a new line we're calling the Everyday Gear Bag, or EDGB. This is inspired by a gear bag I made for a piece of kit last year. I found this beautiful red zipper I really liked, and then I took some sailcloth and I made a bag of this form factor. And I just sort of fell in love with this kind of lunchboxy kind of thing. So we made a bunch of them. Most of them are in red. A few precious ones are in orange. And if we sell out, we will make some more. Go to adamsavage.com and get yours today.